Welcome to the Gita classes. We shall start with the prayer as usual. Om Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Last class, what were we dealing with? We were dealing with the introduction of the Bhagavad Gita, and we learned about how the battlefield was, what's the relation of battlefield and the armies that are fighting to our internal psychological mechanism and psycho-spiritual mechanism rather, how Lord Krishna, Arjuna, and these characters are not separate from us. They're something inside and of us and as us. And we were at a position where the description of Duryodhana's character, his doubts, his questions, his being ready, etc., were mentioned, and then different conches being blown. And conches are nothing but their, the ringing bell of their presence. These are the things we have discussed.
Yep.
In the next shlokas, it is being said. Now, after all that, now Sanjay is stating to Dhritarashtra. Because Arjuna asked him, right, to put him in front in the midst of the both the armies. So Sanjaya said that Krishna, as per the request of Arjuna, he put him in the middle ground. Sanjaya uvacha evam ukto Hrishikesho gudakeshena bharata senayor ubhayor madhye sthapayitva radhottamam. That means evam ukto. Thus, evam means you can say evam is thus actually. Ukto means you can say ukta. Ukta means to speak. So he has to speak that Lord Krishna, having thus been addressed by this Arjuna in order to put them in the midst of the battlefield, Lord Krishna pulled the chariot into the center of the field. Remember here, it is on the request of Arjuna he did that. If Arjuna wouldn't ask, Krishna wouldn't have moved or did anything. Throughout the Mahabharata, Krishna doesn't do anything on his own effort. Very few things which are very important for this universal cyclic law, but otherwise, Krishna doesn't do anything on his own. You have to request it from him. If Duryodhana requested, he would have done. Arjuna requested, he would have done. Very interestingly, he doesn't say Krishna. Sometimes he says Hrishikesha. Here, the Lord Krishna's name is Hrishikesha. Why is he naming him Hrishikesha and why Arjuna Gudakesha? So there are many names used by Krishna and Arjuna throughout the Gita. It's not like if Jay and Tejasvi keep speaking, a third person would say Jay and Tejasvi spoke like, but not does. In the scriptures like Gita, Mahabharata, Bhagavata, Ramayana, the names indicate not only the persons, but the characters the persons have, or the nature or the principles that the person has. Here, for example, Hrishikesha is the name which means Hridaya. So the Isha, the Lord of this Hridaya is Hrishikesha. Therefore, in a way, like for Arjuna, they use different names. For example, Partha, right? And Partha means something related to the materialistic world. We will see what he's been addressed at. Bhishma Drona Pramukhatah Sarvesham cha Mahikshitam Uvacha Partha Pasyaitam Samavetam Kurun iti. By entering into the battleground, he has seen everyone. Who did he see? Bhishma, Drona, and other kings who belong to his clan. तत्रापश्यात् स्थितान् पार्थ पित्रान् अथ पितामहान् आचार्यान् मातुलान् भ्रातॄन् पुत्रान् पौत्रान् सखीन् ततः श्वशूरान् किरीदश चैव सेनयोरुभयोरपि. Usually in the battleground, whom do you see if I put you in the battleground? Whom do you see? You will see Kaurava's army. Or you will see they are the enemies who put us in the jungle and all. But what is Arjuna seeing? Pitaram means fathers. Yeah. Then Pitamaha, grandfathers. Acharyan, teacher. Matulan, maternal uncle. Bhratrin, Bhratra means brothers. Putran, son. Pautran, grandson. Sakin, son. This guy started, instead of looking enemy, he started looking the mine aspect. They are my teachers, my gurus, my mentors, my relatives, my uncles, my brothers, my relatives, my friends, my children, and my grandchildren are such. The moment we think of Mahabharata war, we think that Arjuna is some young 35 years or 30 years old fellow. No. During the Mahabharata war, approximately Dharmaraja's age was 90 years, by the way. See at what age they are waging the war. Yeah. They didn't have these Netflix or French to just sit and while away their time, right? So they were very strong emotionally and physically, unlike the modern day humans. At any rate, all these relations are to the mind or to the reality. What do you think?
Mind or mind?
Mind, no. Because when he's sleeping, where does these relations exist? Again, when he wakes up, relations come.
Yeah.
When he decided to wage war, he didn't see relations. Now suddenly he's seeing. This is where you need to read Mahabharata. Many people read Bhagavad Gita as it is. Correct? Like, it's a very good scripture. I open the book and I start reading. I get some philosophical message. But as a good student, don't you need to address one question, Jay? That question is, when Arjuna decided to wage the war, why is he feeling all these feelings suddenly? Out of a blue, why is it happening? Actually, what happens before the war, Dhritarashtra sends a letter to Arjuna. In that letter, he writes all these things. In that letter, he says, why do you need to wage the war? My son Duryodhana seeks for Rajya. Let's just give it no. Why to do, why to kill all these people? We are all your brothers, uncles, your children are there, your grandchildren are there. The whole clan will perish. All the questions asked by Arjuna in the first chapter are questions raised by Dhritarashtra to Arjuna. That means, let us say you're going on an important task and I call you and I said, will you be able to do? Are you sure you have the strength to do? I think something is wrong in the place where you are going. If I tell all these things, with what motto will you go? With what inspiration will you go? Are you not doubting yourself? Are you not, what do you call, stumbling upon all your assertions that you have made? This is what is happening in this case. Because, so how do I know this? Just before Bhagavad Gita, the chapter that exists, that is where you will find out Dhritarashtra converses with Arjuna through the letters to avoid the war. He was not ready to give the land or the Rajya, but he wants to avoid the war, saying, hey, just give it, it's just a piece of cake, he's asking. So you should be careful of what you read when you start a task. Yeah, don't listen to everyone. Don't speak to everyone when you have decided on some task. Just start doing it. This is what happens when someone interferes. And don't be as feeble-minded as his was in the Yuddha Bhumi.
Yeah.
Tan Samikshya स कौन्तेय सर्वान् बन्धून् अवस्थितान् कृपया परयाविष्टो विषीदन् idam abravit. That means, what did he see? He saw all the relatives. Now he got overwhelmed. He got compassion. He got sorrow. He got teary eyes. And he started to speak the following. All this is because of the Dhritarashtra's doing. Otherwise, he was very, I will kill the whole army and I'll get my kingdom back, the lawful kingdom. Even such a great, valorous warrior can be mentally weakened by just one letter. Remember the power of word and sentence. Hmm? Never under. They say, right, in journalism, our pen is our gun. So
Yeah.
pen has so much value, and every word that we read, that is why we have to inculcate reading proper literature. If Arjuna was reading Vedas and Upanishads as his childhood was, he wouldn't have any problem. He started listening, he started reading these letters. Why should he care what enemy gives a letter? Wrong things, many wrong things he has done to reach this state of melancholy. Arjuna Uvata. दृष्ट्वेमं स्वजनं कृष्ण युयुत्सुं समुपस्थितं सीदन्ति मम गात्राणि मुखं च परिष्येति. That means, he says, seeing this all people who are ready for battlefield, my mouth is drying up. I can't speak. I can't move forward. I can't reach the war. These are all the relatives I see. I don't see what do you call my enemies there. All I see is my own kith and kin. Next shlokas, I will just give you the essence. He says his body is shivering, his bow is quivering. He's unable to, take the arrow. He doesn't feel his legs. He doesn't feel his hands, so on and so forth. He is just going into such a state which we call as momentary mental collapse, you can call. And then he says, I don't want victory like this. What is victory by killing our own person? Who are they who are standing? It's my own grandfather. If I kill my grandfather, what is that I'm going to get? He is, now he is becoming lawful. He's talking Krishna about the legality of the killing of his own relatives right now. And then he says, there are teachers, grandfathers, maternal aunties, brother-in-laws, and all these people who they have been with me since my childhood. I don't want to kill them. If we kill like that, we will be the creator of our own destruction of the clan. And what law am I setting for other people in the world who look upon me? Like this guy killed his own relatives. Is that what we have to do? And what pleasure will I get? And what happiness will I get? Will I be even sleeping peacefully once I have killed them? In that, he is also being very interested. He says, what if I kill them? He doesn't accept that he will be get killed by them. In that state also, he knows his strength. And now he says it is they who started the war. They had the greed. They have everything. But when they kill, even our army will die. Their army will also die. Why should we do that? And all these things he doesn't think before the war. Huh? When you have arranged for all the basically like the modern movies, right? When the parents arrange for the marriage, when they ask everything and everything is set up, the bride, sorry, the groom sits. Suddenly, the bride escapes with her love. She could have done 2 days before. She could have done 3 days before. No, in the movie, all the resources have to be wasted at that moment. The same thing is happening here. Same mentality. Also, He says, if I kill my dynasty or my clan, what happens? Whatever we have been following, we say, right? Idima acharam. This is our culture. Every family sect will have their own acharams, the set of rituals, set of sacraments that they do. That will perish away. The great Kuru dynasty will come to so feeble number of people at the end of the war that the other people will think, what a weak family this was. They fought amongst themselves, and then other countries will invade on us. What happens? Usually in the war, what happens? They will deprive you of your resources. The one army will take the lost army and enslave them. They will take their children, women, resources, and all these things and put the men in the jail. This was the tradition in those days, correct? But then what happens? They would misbehave with the women of our clan. If they misbehave, then the descendants, the people who come later on, your understanding, people who come later on will be of mixed race. Why? Because other countries' enemies have invaded. They have taken out the the women and children. They would raise them with their values, but not our values. So on and so forth. He was basically blabbering. All the things Arjuna said, you can consider it as a theme of war in the film, but he is speaking out of blankness in his mind at that moment of time. And then he says, if such people are born, then if they will not have the heart and soul for imbibing the heart of the Indian culture, which means it destroys the root of the family culture. From there, all the rituals, all the sacrifices, the yajna, yaga, all these things will be perished. So he's giving it chain actions. I fight with them, they fight with me. Our clan descends. Then slowly the enemies will invade. Then they will spoil our women and children. Then the offsprings that come out of that spoiled relations would have the mindsets of what we call as mlecha. According to Master Ike, the word mlecha is used for those people who do not go according to the laws of nature. Unfortunately, they have transcribed it as a word for certain sect of people, which is not correct. It is for whoever we call as Sangha Vidroha Kashaktulu. We call that right in the TV news channel. They are called the Lekshas in the Veda. So these people become like that. There's an important point here also. That means when you force yourself upon someone and then you get an offspring, that offspring is not of the right mindset. When you're busy in the world, you don't, but the children happen by mistake. You know, you do not desire to have children, and yet they are like, at a moment it happens. Such children will have very less amount of power in their mental and physical ability. That's what Arjuna is trying to say in an indirect way. Because when the women's husbands have been killed and they're captured by the enemy, and then they beget children. In those days, after the culture, as per the Mahabharata war goes, I do not know personally if women warriors were there. Maybe there were, but the way they are depicting, this was the scenario in those days. And such offsprings will not have the mindset of what the Veda Dharma prescribes. And then once they start doing these evil things, then what happens? You will get more offsprings of that kind, more evil. Basically, evil will be rampant in the society because you do not understand the truth of the nature. Then he says, "O Janardana, O Krishna, and I have learned from the learned ones that whoever destroys their family traditions, whoever do not follow their culture of the family, will go to hell. Now this guy remembers hell and heaven. Hmm. And then he says, what sin have we started? Oh my God. And then he's basically putting all his thoughts bundled and bubbling up in his head to Krishna. And he says, it is all because I want the kingdom. If I didn't want the kingdom, this much wouldn't have happened, right? No war would have happened. What happened if I just give the land to them? Be like, non-violence, passive non-violence. Then this is called pseudo non-violence. When you have to wage the war, Gita never prescribes a passivity. Remember that. Gita always prescribes active defense, not passive defense. And if someone is beating you, you they say, right? You show the like Gandhiji told to show the left cheek or the right cheek, etc. If you read Krishna's the Gita's first chapter, you definitely don't get that message. Like maybe Gandhi is this saying. I did not read his autobiography, so I don't know much. This is what people say. It is true. It is version of Gandhi. But according to our understanding of the Gita, as you can see, nowhere you will see that Krishna says, "Okay, beta, you're feeling so sad. Yes, it's wrong to kill. Just don't fight the war. Just give away your land, so many people will live." Is it not? But did he say that? Later on he'll say, "Take up the weapon, you idiot. You are simply sitting there. You have enjoyed all the pleasures in the as a king, and so many people are depending on you, and now you want to just give away the kingdom. This is unlawful. How can you support unlawful?" And he scolds him in the second chapter. You're behaving neither like a man nor like a woman. That means in between the center guy. Arjuna will be like, why is he scolding me like this? Suddenly his mind diverts. We'll see that. So that is Krishna's message. That means when you get for India, Gita is very necessary because whenever a foreign invasions or attacks happen to India in terms of cultural damage or moral damage, we need to take up our weapon of defense and stand our ground. If we don't do that and if we go passive to these things, there will be more harm than good that is going to come. You're understanding?
Yeah.
And saying so, Sanjaya Uvacha. Evam Uktvārjuna Sankhye Radhopastha Upavishat Vishrujyasa Tiram Shapam Shoka Samvidna Manasa. What did he do? He threw the bow and arrows. He sat and he started, oh my God, what have I done? Etc. He sat like that basically. అంటే ఎంత లగ్జరీ ఉండాలి అర్జునుడికి. On one hand, both the armies are preparing to wage the war. No one is worried of these things. What Duryodhana doesn't know that all these people are his grandfathers, grandmothers, grandchildren, and all. And
Yeah.
Bhishma doesn't know all this. He has seen 300 years of age. His
Mm.
brothers, Nakula, Sahadeva, Bhima, Arjuna, not Bhima, Dharmaraja, all these people are also ready to wage the war. But he only is the person to, అంటే లోకంలోని సత్యాన్ని వీడొక్కడే గ్రహించినట్టు ఇంకెవరికి తెలియనట్టు వీడొక్కడో పెద్ద ఏంటది he himself is like I am the saintly person in this world, right? To say, to think like that, he behaved like that, and he threw and he was started to cry. ఏడవడం మొదలెట్టాడు. అసలు వారియర్స్ ఏడవరు ఫస్ట్ ఆఫ్ ఆల్. మనోడు ఏడుపు కూడా వచ్చేసింది. ఇంకా తిడతాడు కృష్ణుడు. అబ్బా నెక్స్ట్ చాప్టర్ లో ఇట్స్ ఎ లెసన్ ఫర్ ఆల్ ఆఫ్ అస్. సెకండ్ చాప్టర్ లో కృష్ణుడు లేవనెత్తిన పాయింట్స్, the points that Krishna said in the second chapter are points throughout we should meditate in our life. We have to see ourselves. Are we being pseudo humanitarian? We say on humanitarian grounds you should not wage war. ఇప్పుడు రష్యా యుక్రెయిన్ మీద అటాక్ చేసింది, అనవసరమైన వార్. యుక్రెయిన్ ఏం చేయలే రష్యా, వీడికి కావాలి, అది ఎందుకో మరి తెలియదు. అలానే బ్రిటిష్ వేజ్డ్ వార్ విత్ ఇండియా. ఈవెన్ నౌ The adharmic forces are waging war on the dharmic forces. The Bharatiya Sanatana Dharma is being affected every day because of unnecessary questions and unnecessary attacks, conversions of religions. Correct? Ours is not a religion, but they want to convert the Sanatanis into other religions. What do you see? Other religions following our traits, our Bharati methods, our singing bhajan methods. Other people are following. In a way, what are they doing? They are trying to say that ours is not separate from them, so come to us. If ours is not separate from them, why don't you stay there only? No one is asking this question. Yeah.
Mm.
So like that, many attacks are being made. So what should we do? Should we do like, yeah, karmanusaram jarutundi? It all because of karma it goes on. What am I to do? Let me sit in our home, relax, eat this much rice and sleep with a brave in my stomach. Should not do that. When you see dharma is being affected, you need to stand your ground. But you should not go on your own and be another missionary person. You need to do that which necessitates the upliftment of our society. What is that you need to do? You need to first revive yourself. You need to revive your own family first, and then your friends first. Do these three things. The rest will take care of itself. You teach to two persons. Those two teach to two more each. Don't you think that tree grows on rapidly after a while?
Yep.
But we are not ready to rectify ourselves. What we are to do, we are always ready to give suggestions to another person. When it comes to us, we are like, "Chhod do yaar." We are in that attitude. It should not happen. This is the first chapter in its summary. So, what is the summary? Basically, all the slokas I skipped reading because he keeps crying on this thing. Is used for me. I feel like Arjuna was in such a state where each of us will be, or was, or are right now. So, only in that state we shall be understanding Gita. That depth of Badha should come to us. Sorrow. We should be sorrowful. We should be heartful. We should be hurtful. We should be in the highest state of melancholy. Life law, when we have some things happen, we go to that stage, where we don't believe in anyone, we don't believe God, we start spending time in just brooding over our sorrow. That is the stage when Gita will be most useful and most effective. So if you see any person who is in a sad state, just after a little while, you can introduce Bhagavad Gita to them. Yeah. That is, they will be saved from their sorrow. In fact, they will be turned 180 degrees and go in the right direction. But if you eat Mysore bhaji and then start discussing Bhagavad Gita, you're not going to get as much as Arjuna got. Yeah.
Mhm.
The other way of understanding is, if you read Bhagavad Gita from second chapter onwards, you will never reach the first chapter. That means you will never reach the melancholy stage of Arjuna. That is one reason to read Gita. So if you're in the first chapter, start reading from it and go. Otherwise, start reading from the second chapter, which means you will never reach the first chapter. This is a way to look at it because Gita will protect you. I mean, after first chapter, he will never again agonize. He never returns back to that agony. So we are shielded. So if we have a children, our child needs to know Gita in and out. As they grow, they should learn Gita and its essence. Many people think making children recite slokas itself is teaching them Gita. Along with shloka, they should teach the essence of it. They should teach the values of life, when to stand our ground, when not to, when to believe, and when to fight. Yeah. See, right now, and that Kolkata case that is happening in India, uh, the unlawful event that happened to that doctor, how is India reacting? They are reacting exactly like Krishna wants. They are protesting. They are not protesting unlawfully. They are all the doctors are holding the emergency services. But other things, they are stopping to show their protest. They have, grouped around the hospital's place. Many people see, పక్కింట్లో జరిగితే నాకేంటి లేదు. If it happens in the neighbor's house, why for me? That mentality is slowly going if you observe. Once upon a time, that was the mentality, unfortunately, in the recent past, just after freedom and before 1990s or so. Again, the original, that pride of the freedom fighters is again, infused into us. We are fighting for the freedom of our society these days. And why are we fighting? Because we see unlawful activities being done and we are fighting for the law. That fight is necessary. Yesterday only I was watching the Supreme Court's discussion. The judge was commenting on all these things. And he was saying to the government, don't waste your forces on civilians who are protesting. Spend your forces on the culprits. What does government usually do in this case?
Yeah.
Lathi charge. Unless there is violence from the protest, why do you waste your resources? Let them protest. That is as natural as thing. So in a way, they did not say कि ये सारे karma से होता है. All this happens with karma. Let God take care. No. So until the just judgment and the justful judgment is begotten, the fight shouldn't stop. In fact, one such event was Nirbhaya's case, right? Because of which there was a whole change in the law. Now again, I think a big change in the law is happening because Supreme Court has asked some task force. They have recommended a task force comprised of doctors who would recommend what the work environment should be for women. In 20 years from now, don't you think that would be like safest development? So
Yeah.
that is a constructive forward movement of a society should be. So the heart of Gita has always been in India and it is never killed by any foreign forces, which is what we'll see after the whole understanding of Gita. Many of us may think those who read Gita is only the person who understands Gita. No. The heart of Gita is our own lifestyle and our own ideals that has been taught by our own grandparents and great grandparents, that has been handed down through generations. Yeah. During freedom fight, if everyone sat at home, who would have got freedom?
Yeah.
But now, because of nuclear families and every family want everything for their own children. My son only want to be rich. My daughter only has to go, have all the pride, all the awards, all the ranks. This mentality made most of us stagnant in our ability to help another person. We see other people as competitors than our own, human.
Yeah.
So when they get affected, we think it's in the neighbor's house. So if the house this side and house this side gets fire accident, we think sit in our home, we are safe. That fire will catch to us, buddy. That common sense is lost.
Okay.
Yeah. So we should pluck things out of the roots. And all that will happen if you are strong enough. Now starts the second chapter. And second chapter is said to be the quintessence of whole of Bhagavad Gita. You read second chapter, you are done reading Gita in its summarized form. He introduces all the concepts he is going to explore later on in the second chapter. The conversation happened like that. Okay. The second chapter is named Sankhya Yoga. First chapter's name is what?
Mm,
Arjuna Vishada Yoga.
Yeah.
Yeah, Arjuna Vishada Yoga. Now, second chapter is named Sankhya Yoga, or Master Vika has named it as Kanuvippu. Kanuvippu means eye-opening chapter.
Yeah. Sankhya here, does it mean numbers or
It
has it?
has Sankhya, indeed, it is to do with numbers, but numbers not in our understanding of numbers. And the Sankhya explored by Krishna is not the Sankhya Karikas of some other person. This is true Sankhya Yoga as which has synergy with the Kapila's teaching to Devahuti in Bhagavatam. Okay? And it is to do with numbers because he enumerates a few things in this chapter. the universe is made up of some enumerations, which is what we should be learning. Okay?
Yep.
Sankhya Yoga. Now Sanjaya says, Sanjaya Uvacha, Tam Tatha Krupaya Vishtam Ashru Purna Kulekshanam Vishidantamidam Vakyamuvacha Madhusudanaha. So Arjuna was overwhelmed with pity, grief, with sorrow, and full of teary eyes. He sat there, seeing that Sanjay is telling the Dhritarashtra, Krishna has finally spoken. This is the first time Krishna is speaking, by the way. Is it not?
Yeah.
So we should listen to carefully. Beautiful shloka. 3. Now, if Krishna spoke, what would Sanskrit word be? Sanjaya spoke means Sanjaya Uvacha. Arjuna spoke means Arjuna Uvacha. Krishna spoke means?
Bhagavan Vacha.
Why Bhagavan Uvacha? Because it is not Krishna as a relative of Arjuna that is speaking here. Throughout the Gita, Krishna is addressed in the Uvacha section as Bhagavan Uvacha.
Oh, that is correct.
Which means he is represented as the Lord omnipresent who is speaking, not the individual. So when someone gives us hitopadesa, right? When we are at sorrow stage and when someone gives us advice and that advice changes our life, we should attribute it to the God speaking through him, not the person. My dad has said, my friend has said, Teja has said. These are not the things. God speaking through these people, if you can listen or you can feel it, you can understand it, that will take your implementation of their suggestion 1,000-fold forward. Because if you see friends or family speaking, you'll go only 1 or 2 steps forward.
Yeah.
But here
Yeah,
Bhagavan is speaking. Huh?
This is the same thing like Ike also says in Patanjali Yoga Sutras, like who wrote these slokas means like Shiva wrote these slokas, right? So if anyone writes those slokas, it means like they are in that state so that from God it came through them. Like, yeah, he's a
God inspired. They're inspirational writings, we call. Correct.
yeah.
So, Kutastva Kashmalamidam Vishame Samupasthitam Anarya Jushtam Asvargya Apkirti Karmarjuna. That means he's saying Akirtikaram Arjuna. What is this nonsense that you are doing? You are not an Aryan if you do so. Aryans must be valorful. They must be glorious. What is this crying? Chi, 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 chi. This doesn't get you any fame or anything. This doesn't put you into the Swarga. What nonsense is this? Why are you crying? Klaibyam mas magama partha naitatvai upapatyate Shudram Hrudaya Daurbalyam Tyaktotishta Parantapa. Very important sloka. Third sloka. Klaibyam means it's like neither man nor woman. Basically, you are like an half man, half woman right now. So basically, he is neither valorous nor strong, nothing. He's weakest. That's what he's calling Arjuna. Does this benefit you, you think? Why are you so weak? Just give it up already, oh Arjuna. You have to. He calls him Parantapa. That means, oh, conqueror of enemies. That means he's hinting. Previously, you have waged so many wars. Now, what is happening? When you waged those wars, what? They did not have relatives or anyone? Only now you remember of your relatives? Huh? The names are very important, as I said. That we'll take up in some other lesson sometimes. Many names will come. Each and every name we can comment as to why that name is put at that place. Here, Parantapa is put instead of Arjuna. Because He has to remind him he has won so many wars already. Why suddenly this melancholy? Now Arjuna is saying, Arjuna Vacha, Katham Bhishma Maham Sankhye Dronam Cha Madhusudana Ishubhihi Pratiyotyami Pujara Pujarahavari Sudana Varisudana. So what does he mean? How can I shoot arrows on my gurus like Bhishma and Drona, who are worthy of worship? And ఇప్పుడు worship worthy, how are they worship worthy? They worship worthy because they taught him. But are they not persons who sat silently when Duryodhana is doing all the nonsensical, unlawful things? This says one more thing, the Mahabharata. If you are too good, but you stand on the wrong side, you will be perished. You may be a great teacher, you will be perished. You may be a great saintly person. నేను చాలా మంచివాడినండి, నేను అసలు రోజు భక్తి పూజలు అన్నీ చేస్తానండి. వాడు మోసం, మా పక్కింటి వాడండి మోసం చేసింది, నేను కాదు. హీఈస్ డూయింగ్ రాంగ్, ఐఎమ్ నాట్ డూయింగ్. ఐ సా ఇట్ బట్ ఐ వాజ్ సైలెంట్. ఐ జస్ట్ ట్రస్ట్ గాడ్ విల్ డూ ఎవ్రీథింగ్. మరి వీడెందుకుట గాడ్ విల్ డూ ఎవ్రీథింగ్ అంటే, బేసికలీ వెన్ యూ సీ రాంగ్ అండ్ యూ హ్యావ్ కంట్రోల్ ఓవర్ ఇట్, యూ కెన్ కర్బ్ ఇట్. బట్ యూ డి నాట్, మీన్స్ యూ ఆర్ లైక్ భీష్మ. భీష్మ చెప్తాడు, భీష్మ సేస్ టు ధృతరాష్ట్ర, డూడ్ యువర్ సన్స్ విల్ పెరిష్ అవే ఇఫ్ యూ వేజ్ ద వార్. బట్ హీ డజంట్ సే, as యువర్ the big eldest of the family, I'm saying, don't wage the war. Shut up and sit down. Because whose Rajya was it? Bhishma's only, na? He gives to Dhritarashtra and all. He says, I have the rights to this. Everyone, just silently sit and let's stop this war. He doesn't say that. అంటే ముసలోడు అయిపోయాడు, మరి ఎవరిని చూస్తారు వీడిని కోపగిస్తే అందరూ, ఆ బాధ ఉంటుందో మరి ఎందుకో. సో భీష్మ ఆల్సో గాట్ పెరిష్డ్ అవే బికాస్ ఆఫ్ దిస్ రీజన్ ఆఫ్ అసోసియేటింగ్ విత్ ద ఈవిల్. This is the biggest lesson in the Mahabharata. But Bhishma is one of the key, as he says, worship worthy. అంటే భీష్ముడు లాంటి వాడు ఇంకొకటి లేడు సృష్టిలో. ఈజ్ నభూతో నభవిష్యతి, వన్ ఆఫ్ ద గ్రాండెస్ట్ పర్సన్స్. హీ గేవ్ us విష్ణు సహస్రనామ అండ్ శివ సహస్రనామ. ఈ రోజు మనం చదువుకునే విష్ణు సహస్రనామ is given by Bhishma only.
Okay.
Another lesson again, just because someone stands on the evil side doesn't mean all he says is evil. So what he says we can take, which is good. What he says as bad, we do not take. This should be our mentality in life. మరి భీష్ముడు చెప్పిన మనం చదువుకుంటున్నాం ఈ రోజు. ఇప్పుడు రావణాసుడు రాసిన శివతాండవ స్తోత్రం పూజలు చేస్తున్నాంగా. జటాటవి గలజ్వల ప్రవాహ పావిత స్థలే గలే వలంబ్య లంబితాం భుజంగ తుంగ మాలికాం చదువుకుంటున్నాం రోజు. ఇఫ్ యు ఆర్ రీడింగ్ వాట్ రావణ హ్యాస్ రిటన్, వన్ ఆఫ్ ద గ్రేటెస్ట్ విలన్స్ ఇన్ రామాయణ, what does that imply? A person and the good that he says are completely different. When good is being expressed, it is God that is manifesting through them. When bad is being expressed, it is their ignorance that is covering the God and doing things in the background of God. If you can perceive things like this, you will start becoming the divine swan, which takes in only good and leaves out the bad. Divine swan, Devahamsa. It can take out milk and leave the water apparently. So milk is the good, the mixed water is the bad in that scenario. Guru ahtva hi mahanubhavan shreyo bhoktum bhaikshyamapihi loke hatvatha kamamstu gurunihaiva bhunjiya bhogan rudhira pradiksham. He basically, Arjuna says, it is better to beg and eat rather than eat over the victory of killing our own well-wishers and gurus and relatives. వీళ్ళని చంపి ఆ అన్నం తినే కంటే నేను అడుక్కు తింటాను అంటున్నాడు బేసికల్లీ కృష్ణుడితో. సరే చిప్పిచ్చి అడుక్కో అంటే అడుక్కుంటాడు, అర్జునుడు చేయడు. ఇలాంటి డైలాగ్స్ మనం ఎన్నో కొడతాం. we say, if you give me the chance, or we say it's better to not do anything at this ideally, because in these situations nothing works. India cannot be helped. We will just need to sit silently. Will he sit silently? No, he does all the things that he wants for his pleasures and stuff. But he keeps scolding India and politicians and all this. Basically, Arjuna's everywhere. In the state of melancholy, we say, I just want to go. I just want to leave away everything and go to Himalayas. If you give him a suitcase and say, okay, everybody, go to Himalayas and stay there and then write to us, he say, not now. I was saying after a week. And then he'll not go at all. పిచ్చి కూతలు we call them పిచ్చి కూతలు in Telugu. అనవసరమైన కూతలు పిచ్చి కూతలు unnecessary. That's what this guy is basically blabbering. I'll beg, he said. Will he really? Are we sure about it? Krishna would have smiled inside and said, rolling on the floor and laughing, na chai tad vidmaha kataram no gariyo yadva jayema yadiva no jayeyu yaneva atva na jijivishama te avasthitaha pramukhe dharta rashtraha. Now he started speaking in a different way. Until now, he was okay. Krishna was not responding properly. He said, if we don't win, what if they win? Finally, we wage the war, okay. Finally, what if they win? How can we live after that? With that shame, with that, worry that finally they have won. What have we waged war finally for? అరే ఇంటర్వ్యూకి వెళ్ళరా నాయన, ఒకవేళ రాకపోతే బస్సుల ఛార్జీలు ఇవన్నీ ఖర్చు అవ్వాలా అంటాడు చూడు. ఆ దరిద్రం మెంటాలిటీ అనమాట. వాట్ ఇఫ్, ద moment you say what if, that means you're good for nothing fellow. Master, he uses this statement, brilliant. Good for nothing fellow. Now, what if you are able to say, that means you have time to think so much scenarios. Why don't you invest the time and power to do something constructive and forget about what if and just do what you have to do? Tomorrow you have an exam. What if I don't get good marks? In that 5 minutes time, why don't you do 3-4 problems? That what if situation is coming here in the Arjuna's mind. Karpanya doshopahata swabhavah pruchhami tvam dharma sammudha chetaha yat shreyah tam nishchitam bruhi tanme tishyasteham adhi mam tvam prapannam. Very important shloka. Star mark for 7th one. Second chapter, 7th shloka. What to do when you are in such a state of Arjuna. This is what you have to do. Now, even though we spoke of Arjuna as so unmanly and so, this shloka puts him 1,000 floors above than us. Why? He says, I am confused because of Karpanya dosha. Karpanya dosha means krupa, the sympathy. Because my mind is overcome by the mentality of sympathy on these things. Krupa. Jali. Jalito na mind block అయిపోయింది. I am blinded with it. With this, I am submitting to you. You are my Guru. Pruchhamitvam. I am asking you. Dharma sammudha cheta. Dharma sammudha. I am unable to know what is good, what is bad, what is dharma right now. Please tell me, yes, shreyaha. That which is a shreyas for me. There are two things. Shreyas and preyas. When you are hungry, nice masala dosa, Mysore bhaji, puri are all preyas. What a taste. Sprouts, nice fruit, raw bitter gourd, these are shreyas, which are actually good for you. He is telling to Arjuna, I know what is preyas for me. Preyas is to leave the war. But what is shreyas? Please tell me. Shreyas means that which gives you a good environment and good future rather than momentary happiness. It gives you a long-term happiness because it sets things right. And how does he ask? Bruhit Tanmay, I am asking you. Sishyaste aham. I am becoming your student and I am asking. I am not asking you like as your brother-in-law. I am not asking you as my friend. I am asking you as your student. That means now until now they both are like this. Slowly he's putting Krishna there and he's becoming a student. Now as a student, I'm asking, please tell me what we need to do. Prapannam. And I'm surrendering to you as a Sishya. Do this, God will come to you and speak as Krishna spoke to Arjuna. You don't do this, no one can help you in this world. Understood? This is one shloka you can meditate throughout life. That means, what does it mean, Shreyas? What does it mean to become Sishya to Krishna? What does it mean to surrender? Three things are there in this shloka. Surrender means yourself, your thoughts, your mind, your everything should be of the God. Let His word flow through you. Let His thought flow through you. Let His presence flow through you. Sishya means you have to be as obedient as possible. ఈ కాలం శిష్యుల్లాగా కాదు. Teacher in some movie or somewhere, teacher says to friends, we'll be like friends. Teacher says to students, let us be like friends. And student is, yara, not that student, right? Student means Arjuna. Student means what Nachiketa was to Yama. Okay. Whatever Guru teaches, you don't only practice it, you live the teaching. 2 గంటలు తేజ గారు చెప్పింది మనం పాటించేసి మిగతా 8 గంటలు పాటించకుండా ఉంటే we become a more than 20th century student. If you need to be the Satyayuga student, తేజ గారు చెప్పిన దాంట్లో తేజ కనపడకూడదు. You should see whatever good that you think that I am speaking, you should understand it as God teaching. I have no relation there. Because what you see is not my thing. నా టీచింగ్స్ లో నువ్వేమన్నా మంచి చూసావు అంటే యూ అండ్ ఐ బోత్ టుగెదర్ అట్రిబ్యూట్ ఇట్ టు గాడ్. ఇఫ్ మై టీచింగ్ యూ సీ సమ్ డిఫరెన్సెస్, ఫస్ట్ ఐ విల్ ఇట్ సెల్ఫ్ సే ఇట్ ఈస్ మై ఓన్ ధర్మ సమ్మూఢ చేత, మై ఓన్ మైండ్ గెటింగ్ కన్ఫ్యూజ్డ్ విత్ ధర్మ, సో ఇగ్నోర్ దోస్ ప్లీజ్. This is not my statement. In Taittiriya Upanishad, Guru tells to Sishya, in whatever we have taught, what you feel as good, you do. In whatever we are behaving, what you feel as good, you follow. But if you feel that we are misbehaving with something, don't follow that. If you think we have taught something that doesn't suit you, don't follow that. ఋషులు ఎలా ఉన్నారు, ఇప్పటి టీచర్స్ ఎలా ఉన్నారు ఒక్కసారి ఆలోచించాలి. Now we say, this is the theory. This is radicalization. This is modern. This is Marxism. This is thatism. This is thisism. If you don't follow this, you are waste for the life. What is this? Ante we are rubbing our own philosophies onto other person's mind. We are brainwashing them rather than giving them freedom to choose what is good, what is bad, according to their own choice. A teacher's job is to present things, not drag a student through the mud. Guru means someone who removes darkness by putting light. Doesn't mean you drag the person through the cave of darkness and say, this is light, this is light, this is light. You don't bring light. So we stop at 7th verse of 2nd chapter. Very important verse to meditate. Until next class, meditate on these 3 aspects. What does it mean to be a student? What does it mean to surrender? And what does it mean? Shreyas. And we will catch up in the next class. What was it? End of the Gita shloka, right?
Yeah.
We are in the 2nd chapter. So we read, Iti Srimad Bhagavad Gita Supanishatsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Sri Krishnarjuna Samvade Sankhya Yogo Nama Dvitiyodhyaya. Om Tat Sat. Hari Om.
Okay.